This is a very good question. And Baha'u'llah says that the purpose of religion is to create unity and love. And we should make sure it's not becoming a cause of enmity and war and hatred. And he actually established a very powerful, we call it covenant, you might call it agreement or a pact with his believers. And it's clearly stated in his writings that actually apart from him, only his son that he appointed, and then later on his great-grandson, are the only people who can ever interpret Baha'i sacred writings. So in that way, we always have got the authorized interpretation of the writings. And at the same time, on the individual level, we are encouraged to read the writings privately and come to our own interpretation, because that is very important, because the interpretation is the fruit of your faith, and you need to understand it. You need to find the faith within yourself. But we need to be very careful. If I come to a conclusion that this sentence means this, then I should present it as my own interpretation. I shouldn't make it like as authoritative text or someone who knows more than you do, for example. So we should be very careful to distinguish here. And it's very important that we study the writings of Baha'u'llah and find the truth in there. And because as we develop spiritually, we might find one meaning one day in the same text and one meaning the other day. So it's very important to be mindful that it's our own interpretation, and we have got this guidance, this covenant that protects the Baha'i faith from division or from other people claiming that they know the interpretation of that sacred text.
Well, it matters a great deal, because Baha'u'llah says that the purpose of religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race. So not of a particular group or whatever, but of the whole human race, and to foster the spirit of love and fellowship amongst men. So that's the purpose of religion. And if we look at the history of religion, we can see that at its best, there's been times when religion has been an incredible, unique binding force that brings together humanity, that can awaken in whole populations capacities to love, to forgive, to create, to overcome prejudice, to sacrifice for the common good. So, religion at its best can be a unique civilizer of human nature. But we also, of course, have to recognize that religion, when we look at the history of religion, has been sometimes a force of terrible disunity. And it's been the source of oppression and injustice, and even of violence and bloodshed. And when we look at why is it that this force that has got such potential power for the good of humanity comes to this, we'll often find that it was varying interpretations of a sacred text that are actually at the root cause of that division. And so if we want religion to fulfill its true purpose, to be a haven for mankind, and to be a source of its well-being and its prosperity, then we can see that in the interpretation, who has the authority to interpret the sacred texts becomes a matter of great importance.
As Baha'is, we are encouraged to interpret the writings in order to increase our knowledge and become deeper in the writings of the faith. But what we can't do is to force our opinion on others. So we can never go and talk to someone and say to another Baha'i, this is what Baha'u'llah means. We can interpret it for ourselves. But the danger is that if everyone is interpreting the writings, they all have different views. And the important thing is that the religion of God is for unity. And if there are different interpretations, there won't be unity. In the Baha'i faith, because it's the most recent religion of the world, we don't have that issue, because Baha'u'llah decided that after him, his son, who is his successor, he is the interpreter of his writings. And the son, after himself, he chose his grandson to be the interpreter of the writings of Baha'u'llah. So there is no dispute. That's why the Baha'i faith is just one faith, one religion. It's not like other religions that there have so many different sects. You know, they could all have one religion, but there are different sects, and the sects, they can be enemies to each other. Whereas we have only one Baha'i faith because there is an interpreter, and we know we can refer to his writings.